let everybody know when it's going to be next week, because we're doing a Shabbat up in Rabbi Yerachmiel Shul. So we're going to be out in the neighborhood, so we'll see if we can.
Well, we do it later.
We'll do it later.
So it's time to get back.
Until we get back, it's going to be too late to do next week at like 8:45. Yeah. Can we do next week 8:45?
I think it's kind of.
I have to check my calendar, Rabbi. I may have an important appointment.
We're live. Okay. So, good luck, Shabbat Tov. Now, last week we learned how it was amazing how it exactly fit into the parsha of the luchos. So we got the luchos, which the pasuk Yud, we saw Navu l'chayayach b'tarim, b'tzarek b'charazim. We had these different ornaments that are around one around the head, which was the remnants for the Torah Shabbat Peh, which is all the Torah sort of meshed together into one jewel, Torah Shabbat Peh, and then we had the Tzarek b'charazim. We had the Torah Shabbat, the written Torah, which has the mitzvahs of the Torah, which each one is like separate beads in the chain around the neck. So they're separated in the mitzvah form, but then they're joined together in the Torah form. And then we saw in Pesach Yud Aleph, Torah Zav Nasa Lach Kodesh HaKasef. We had the gold which is the luchos, which were carved out from Hashem's throne. That special gold from Hashem's throne, and then we had the rows of silver, which were shining like silver, which were the carved out words of the Ten Commandments, of the Seres HaDibros. That was last week. So exactly fit into the parsha about the giving of luchos, which is amazing. And then we have the next pasuk, which is something that bothers everybody very much. And it's not this parsha, but it's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. It says Ad Shamelech B'Msibo, pasuk Yud Beis 12. Ad Shamelech B'Msibo, while the king was still in his celebration, in his party, Nirdi Nosan Recho, then my scent was given off not in a pleasant odor, not in a pleasant way. It's sort of a nice way of saying that we putrefied the smell, because with the celebration still going on, while Moshe Rabbeinu is still on Har Sinai, he's still up on the mountain receiving the tablets, receiving the luchos, receiving the Torah, 40 days of Hashem's teaching on the entire Torah, while the party's still going on. We're still celebrating that, receiving the Torah. Already in the middle of the party, we made it had the Chet Egel. We created the golden calf, which that gave us a bad scent among the nations, which they said upon us that, like, okay, we're chosen, we received it, but now we blew it. And that spread around the world like the bad odor that goes out and everybody smells something's wrong. You have that something is, rotten in Denmark, or, so something's rotten in Sinai, and they smell that there's something going on that's wrong. So we'll go on a couple more psukim, then we'll come back and see how this all fits together. So the next pasuk in Yud Gimel, Sor Hamor Dodi Li Ben Shaddai Yalin. So the way that Rashi learns this is that my beloved allowed me to correct this bad odor by putting a good odor, like putting like a good odor in his lap, that Hashem accepted our tshuva for the Chet Egel. He accepted our tshuva that we had for performing this when Moshe Rabbeinu went back into the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, which that ended on Yom Kippur. That was the first Yom Kippur in history that Hashem said, Salachti Kivarecha, that I forgive you. And Rashi says that the real slicha v'kapara, the real acceptance of our tshuva came through us getting the commandment and building the Mishkan. Building the Mishkan, building the tabernacle, that was the kapara for that. And then it goes on to say, Ben Shaddai Yalin, that in that pasuk it says that my beloved gave me this good scent, and in between, literally between my breasts, he will rest, referring to the two handles of the Aron Kodesh that were in the Kodesh Kodashim, and they protruded out, like there was the canopy that was over it, that separated the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, and the Mishkan from the next chamber, and it protruded out like two breasts, which showed that that's our the Klal Yisrael suckles from there. We get our suckling, we get our nourishment, we get our kedusha, we get our life from what's in that Kodesh Kodashim, from those luchos that are inside there and those tablets, which the two handles signify that's where we suckle from, and that's where our kapara came from. And then the final pasuk, Eshkal Kofer Dodi Li B'Chami Ein Gedi. The way Rashi learns is that there's a good scent, a good smell that goes out to the world, which is called Kofer, from the Karmi Ein Gedi, from the vineyards of Ein Gedi, which is a place, he says, at the beginning of Eretz Yisrael. And this, Rashi says it's a dugma, it's an example, it's just a parable to say that there are that just like in the vineyard you have many, many trees in the vineyard, so also Hashem gave us kapara at that time for many things that we did wrong. Many things we performed against, all the planning and fetching and rebelling against Hashem. So we got kapara, we got forgiveness for all of those things. That's the way Rashi learns over here. The Targum as well. Targum writes at great length and says that on this first, very fascinating how he changes a little bit from Rashi. It says that while, I'll just paraphrase, Targum is written in Aramaic, it's a very thick Aramaic, but I'll just paraphrase his words. He says that while Moshe, their master, was still up in Shemayim to receive the two luchos of stone and the Torah, so the wicked of that generation got up, and among them, or chief among them, was the Erev Rav, the nations that mixed among them that Moshe Rabbeinu accepted, not without asking Hashem. So that was like it's attributed to be a mistake to accept them into them. And so the Erev Rav came in, they're the ones who caused the egel, they're the ones who really swayed us into doing this Chet egel, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Like what does the word Erev Rav mean? Well, we know this means the nations that mixed among them, but there's a very deep meaning to that word. So the Targum is telling us that the Erev Rav are the ones that caused this, and it caused a stench among their actions, and a bad name went out from instead of the good name that we had from Kabbalah Satorah and saying Nasu Nishma, which we said this week, Nasu Nishma, that now instead of that, a bad name came out, which was like a bad smell that went out among the nations. That's all this comparison back and forth of good sense and bad sense, these good fragrance and bad fragrance is all a reflection of like the way we're perceived from a distance, because it gets out far. Like an odor can go much further, even sometimes than a sound or a sight. An odor can spread over many, many miles. You know something's wrong and something's bad. So it says that the scent went out, and afterwards it says it was like an animal that's rotten, and the smell goes very, very far. And he adds something which I've never heard before. The Targum says, and they all got saras on their skin, which caused it a bad odor. It's like they all.
All Jews.
That's what he says. It's fascinating. I never heard that before. I never saw that in the Gemara or Midrash or anything. I didn't see it. Maybe
But that would be only the men, right?
Pardon?
That would be only the men.
Uh,
So the women didn't contribute to
Yeah,
that. So the women
that's a
have
good
no
point.
reason to have that.
I have another question.
Thank you for that.
If we're taking the easy way out of blaming the Erev Rav for Chet HaEgel,
Yeah.
why Bnei Israel were punished then?
Okay, good question. We'll add that to the questions. And it's not necessarily an easy way out, but that's Chazal tell us that.
Yeah, right.
So we have to understand that. You're right. Good point.
Lech shichet hamecha, he told him. Read
Pardon?
Lech shichet hamecha.
Yeah.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe
The
Rabbeinu.
whole nation.
Hamecha.
Hamecha.
Right.
Hamecha asher hotzeta, he told him when Moshe Rabbeinu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, why did you bring these people out?
So Hamecha is
Right.
very rough.
Yeah. Okay. Another good point. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then the Targum goes on to say, and we have to understand how does this thing of tsaras come in? Like, what does that have to do with anything? That's a very fascinating point out as well. And then it's very interesting. The Targum he brings, he lets us know stuff about things we thought we knew everything about. Suddenly the Targum comes and Shir HaShirim and lets us know we don't know in the Parsha, we don't know it over there in Chazal or anything. The Targum over here lets us know. And then at that time it says, Hashem says to Moshe, go down to your people, your nation has sinned, like I said, your nation, Sheches Amcha. So he says, separate yourself from me. I'm sorry, separate yourself from them, and I will destroy them. So at that moment, Moshe Rabbeinu asked mercy from Hashem, and Hashem remembered for them the Akedas Yitzchak. He remembered that Abraham was willing to sacrifice Yitzchak. That he says he tied him up and put him at Har Moriah on the Mizbeach. And when Moshe mentioned that, then that swayed Hashem's anger away from them to hold them back from destroying them. And he was willing to put his Shekhinah back among them like before. And therefore, then he goes on to finish off, like Rashi said as well, that he says at that moment, Moshe Rabbeinu was coming down with the Luchos Even, he was carrying down the stones, and they because of the sins of the Jews, they fell out of his hands. That also has to be understood. Like, why would the sins of the Jews make this tablets fall out of his hands? The Torah says they became heavy. So what does it mean they became heavy? This also has to be understood. And they broke, and therefore Moshe went. The story, he ground up the egel, ground up that golden calf. He took he poured the ashes into the stream, and he mixed some of it with water, and he gave it to the Jews to drink. And he killed whoever was like a sota has to drink. I call it the soda water. Pardon?
Identification waters.
The bitter waters.
Identification waters.
Yeah. Right. So anyone who drank it and was through that saw that they get the death penalty. They all were killed, and Klal Yisrael got a kapora. And at that point, he says he was commanded to make the Mishkan, to take the Aron, and at that moment he brought the commandment across to Klal Yisrael to build the Mishkan, to make the Aron, to put those luchos, another set of luchos into the Aron. And now at this point, from this point on, Aaron the Kohen is going to bring the korbanos. Aaron and the Kohanim, because before this, like in this week's parsha, it says that at Har Sinai, when they brought the Ola Zvachim, they brought the korbanos, it was the Bacharos, the firstborn that brought them. It was supposed to be originally the firstborn that were going to be bringing in the offerings. And then since all the nations were responsible for this, except for the Levim, they were outside of this. Shevet Levi and Kohen, they were outside of it. So it was transferred from the firstborn now to the Kohanim to be the ones that are going to be bringing the korbanos. Okay, so he says that the Karmei Ein Gedi, we're talking over here about the orchards of Ein Gedi. So the Targum says that they needed wine libations to go together with the korbanos, and they had no wine in the midbar. Where are they going to get wine from? So it says that people went over. I guess we never heard of this either. Some people went to Ein Gedi, which is the very outskirts of Eretz Yisrael, where they have lots of grapes and lots of wine, and they went from there and got the wine and brought it back to the midbar to be able to bring the wine libations for the korbanos. So it comes out that some Jews actually went into Eretz Yisrael to get this wine and bring it back out. Because otherwise, where would they get it from? The Targum says. Okay, very fascinating, like new rendition of the whole Chet Egel over here. So I just thought we'd talk for a minute about a little bit to understand this point of the Erev Rav, that the whole downfall of Klal Yisrael came through the Erev Rav, and we know that there's no, the Gemara says there's no perennials, no negativity happens to the Jewish people throughout all the generations that doesn't have a little bit of the Chet Egel mixed into it. So even though we did kapara for it, somehow we remain with it to some extent, that we're paying for it till today. And why would that be? If we did kapara, we did tshuva, and Hashem said that I accept your tshuva, and that was the first Yom Kippur. So what are we still paying for? How do we understand that? I think the answer is as follows. We have to put everything in perspective, look at world history in perspective. And if you take a look at the first sin that Adam had, Adam Rishon was created without any Yetzer Hara at all. He was created as perfect as could be, and he had one design, one test, not to eat that fruit in Gan Eden. So the concept of evil, which he had no evil within him at all. He was so pure. Like it says, the angels made a mistake between him and Hashem, and they went and brought kabbanis to him, like they brought him food. The angels were roasting meat for him, which means that he ate food, which is like all he ate was like man. Angels, food that was roasted by the angels is like eating man, which is purely spiritual food. Like the man itself is something that the angels ate, and So the entire concept of evil in the world was manifest in the Nachash, in the snake. And the Nachash was something that was on the outside of him. It wasn't inside, it came from the outside and it was testing him. And so he didn't have the usual type of mistake that we would have with the Yetzer Hara. Like we have a Yetzer Hara within us that will tell us, sway us a certain way. We have an internal struggle going on. He had no internal struggle. Like the mistake that he made a cheshbon, he made a whole, that right now, since he didn't have Yetzer Hara, he made a cheshbon that for me to serve Hashem is not such a big deal. It doesn't bring so much honor to Hashem because I have no Yetzer Hara. So the fact that I choose the right thing, so big deal. What did I really do? It's not such a big deal for Hashem. But if I would have a Yetzer Hara, so he felt sort of like I don't have any real swaying me away from the truth. So if I would have the Yetzer Hara, if I eat the fruit and I'll have the Yetzer Hara, then it's really be a struggle and I'll overcome that struggle and serve Hashem. That'll really be an honor to Hashem. So he made basically a mathematical calculation, which was, what was the mistake in this calculation? It's like a very good cheshbon. He wants to do it for L'Shem Shemayim. Hashem said no, right?
Yeah.
You have to serve Hashem in His terms, not your own terms. You have to. He put himself into the picture. He put his own. He didn't just nullify himself to the message. And just, Hashem said, and I'm going to do what He said. He put too much of himself into the
Ego.
Right? And we call it ego. So he didn't have a Yetzer Hara, so it's not exactly ego, but it's a mistaken calculation that took his thoughts into the calculation rather than just do what Hashem said. Period. So that's when the Yetzer Hara went from being outside of him, like a snake bite. The snake goes and bites at one spot, and then the poison goes throughout the entire body. So at that point on, every single part of the body, every molecule, every part of the body, we have the calculation of 248 and 365, which is 613 of the different parts of our body, all became infected with this evil that now every part of us, every decision we make always has a struggle between good and evil. Because it's within us. We call it Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. We have this Yetzer Hara now, an inclination, which means we're now pulled also towards evil, just like we could possibly be pulled towards the good. It needs even pulled more strongly towards evil than to good. That's the way this world works. Like we have the concept of Tuma and Tahara. Tuma, which is like spiritual defilement and spiritual purity. So the way the world works is that if something tameh, something spiritually defiled, touches something tahor or something pure, so the pure thing doesn't purify the defiled. The tahor doesn't make the tameh tahor. The other way around, the tameh makes the tahor tameh. The defiled overcomes that and defiles it. So we see that the power of evil is even in a way stronger than the power of good. We have to work to get to the good at this point on. It's not a given now. It's not like it was before the sin. Default good. The default would always be good. Here now, the default will be the other way. It's like we always have the comparison to one speaker who compared the world to trying to stay the same place or walking up and down escalator. That the minute if you keep on walking hard, strongly enough, you'll stay in the same place. Even stronger, you can go up, but the minute you stop, you're being pulled down. So the default is you're being pulled down unless you do something to overtake it. That's what happened. That's we changed the default, like we changed the needle. We changed the default status of the world by eating from the Chet Egel. This went on, even though he did tshuva, he got kapara and everything like that. So Hashem forgave the actual sin of eating it, but the state stayed the same. We didn't go back to the Garden of Eden. We didn't get rid of the Yetzer Hara. So Hashem forgave the actual sin, but we still stayed in that state. And this went on throughout all the generations until finally Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov started changing it. Yaakov himself was one person, the first person that actually managed to overcome it and had no Yetzer Hara. He went beyond the Yetzer Hara. And then Klal Yisrael, when they said the words, today's Parsha, they said the words Nasa and Nishma. So the Gemara says in Shabbos that at that point, Paska Zu Masan means that the filth was ejected from them. It stopped. Meaning the effect that happened to mankind by eating the fruit in the garden, by Adam Rishon and Chava, when they ate the fruit there, that effect of having the Yetzer Hara inside, when they said the words Nasa and Nishma, then Paska Zu Masan means that they went back to the state of Adam before the sin. Okay, that's what they went. They elevated themselves. They propelled themselves back to that state, almost like back in the time machine, back to the way Adam was before. The whole Klal Yisrael at that point, it says that then each one received 2 crowns, one for Nasa, one for Nishma. And the concept of a crown is they went beyond themselves. Like their tradition went way beyond their physical structure, their physical situation. So now the parallel now there's got to be a parallel. That just like there was a snake that stood up to Adam to test him and see if he's going to stay with it. So Klal Yisrael, now that we went back to that state, so now is our chance in history. History has to repeat itself, and now is our chance to overcome the downfall of Adam Rishon, the first man. Now's our chance. If we can overcome that, then it says Klal Yisrael would have gone into Eretz Yisrael without any wars, without any weapons, and just their stature alone, like angels, it would have been Malach and Shar, like angels. Nobody could have touched them, and everything would have melted in front of them, and then the time of Mashiach would have been there at that time. That would have been it. But in order to gain that, in order to receive that, so they had to overcome the same thing that Adam fell. They had to stand up to. So what Adam had in the shape of a snake, which embodied the evil, so Klal Yisrael had the Erev Rav, which were in place of the Nachash. And just like a snake has a bite and then the poison can circulate throughout the body, the word Erev Rav comes from the word Taruvis, which means to be intermixed or intermingle. Like let's say we see the word Erev. We live in we say we live in the Erev. The word Erev means intermingle. Like the way the Erev works is that we say that all of I can't carry from one domain to another. So through creating the Erev by putting a physical structure and by taking one amount of bread and putting it in one structure and saying this bread belongs to everybody within the Erev, within this area, within the strings. So then it intermingles all of the different domains to be considered like one domain. That's intermingled. We have the opposite meaning of taruvis. Like if we have hilchos taruvis in Yeridea and Shulchan Aruch, that if it deals with all the laws of if something non-kosher falls into something kosher, so it's called a taruvis. It's a mixture. And now we have different laws: 60 and under 60, more than 60, etc. How it fell in. So it means it's intermingled. It's mixed together. Now the question is, how do you look at this mixture? The word Erev Rav comes from the same word, intermingling. They were the ones that came to intermingle the evil back into them. In place of the snake. Yes?
By the way, did Moshe was Megayer them?
Yes, they became Jewish at Har Sinai, but they still had this element of evil in them, and they're inside, but we had to keep their effect outside of us. Okay, their effect would have died if we would have. So now, in place of the eating that fruit, now was the Chet Egel. So if they would have not listened to it, now again, the Rishonim would say that over here there was also a whole calculation. They thought Moshe died. They made a mistake in the thing. There was part of the Sutton showed Moshe dead on a bed and everything like that, and they thought he's supposed to be down already. Then he died, and they needed somebody in place of him. So the Ramban says, and the Kuzari, all the Rishonim say that they didn't actually come out to really serve it. At least the most people that thought this is going to be a representative of Moshe. They have to lead them. How it's going to be a calf to lead them, whatever. They say the Jews had a cow at the time. But without going into that, somehow or other, they thought that's going to be the leader. But again, they thought that's going to take them ahead. That's going to be good. But Hashem said no greater image. They just had that. Hashem said no, serve him on his terms. By the reason that they had a tikkun for what Adam did by saying Nasav and Ishma, we spoke about this today in the Milo, that by saying Nasav and Ishma, they took themselves out of the picture. The sin of Adam was that he put himself too much into the picture. He didn't listen to Hashem exactly. He put himself. He was going to like one up on Hashem. He was going to put himself in the picture. That's the beginning of the downfall of all evil in this world, is when you put yourself into the picture instead of just nullifying yourself to the will of Hashem. But when Klal Yisrael said Nasav and Ishma, they completely took themselves out of the picture. They said, we'll do it, and then we'll find out what's in it. All the Goyim, Hashem offered it to all them first, and each one said, what's in it for me? And they asked questions, and okay, this doesn't fit my mission. That it says don't kill. Okay, well, but we live by killing. Esau said, and Yishmael, don't steal. What do you mean we live by stealing? each one had their cheshbonos, the calculations why it doesn't work for them. In Klal Yisrael, they completely took themselves out of the picture. They said, Nasa v'nishma, we'll do it, and then we'll find out what's in it. Hashem, you want us to do it? We're in. We accept it completely, totally, without any stipulations, without any, ifs, ands, or buts about it. We accept it. Now we'll find out what's in it, and we'll do it. By doing that, by taking themselves, taking themselves completely out of the picture, and in such a complete way. So that's why Pascha Zumasim. That's why they're able to do a tikkun for what Adam Rishon did. and they went back to that state before the Chet. So now to stay with that, they have to overcome now a test. When the test comes their way, are they going to really be able to stay with that? And that's what the Chet Ego was. And the Erev Rav, sort of that was their job in a way, that they were supposed to test Klal Yisrael. And they again made a mistake in the calculation. We're going to do better by doing this. Well, Hashem said no. So they lost it. They lost that state, and it says that they lost. It says v'yisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es edyam mihar chorev. The Klal Yisrael lost their crowns that they got at Mount Sinai. They lost their ability to be people beyond people, to be like angelic that they got. Now Hashem said, "Slachti kavarecha." I accept your tshuva. They did full tshuva. They did real tshuva. And then the tikkun for that was the Mishkan, which the Mishkan was to, again, serve Hashem exactly on his terms. Like when they built the Mishkan, when they actually went and built it, at the end, right before the partials are repeated again and again and again, which is discussion on its own right. And the last time that it says when they went and they built everything, and they brought everything to Moshe, so it says it was miraculous. Like they didn't have the wisdom to do it. All they knew how to do was build bricks, and Hashem gave them the wisdom. They volunteered, and Hashem provided that wisdom for them. That was a miraculous thing. But Salo was able to do it all, and he accepted to do it all. So Hashem gave him all that wisdom. And then in each thing, one by one, when he brought all of the different kalim, all the different vessels to Moshe, in every part, it says they brought it to Moshe. Va'asuasa kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe, and they did it like Hashem commanded Moshe. And it says this again and again and again, time after time. The reason for that is because they could have embellished on it. Like once they got that wisdom and they knew how to do gold work and silver work, and they would say, okay, build this, take this menorah this way, and this number of this number of buttons, this number of flowers, and
Still waiting.
it's a problem. So somebody could have said, that's beautiful, but like I can add an extra little flower over here, an extra little button over here, and I can make it even more beautiful. But they completely nullified their will and made it exactly the way Hashem said to do it. So that's why the Malachot Hashem is the Mishkan. That's why the Hashem brought himself back down to the Mishkan, and he had the Shekhinah among them again, like it was previously. So they got Kapora, they got Hashem back, they got a second set of tablets, right? But they didn't get back to the state before. Like Adam Rishon also did Tshuva, so he got Kapora, Hashem forgave him, but he didn't go back to what he was before. Not always do you get to do that. Not always do you get to go back to it. Kapara doesn't always mean you go back to the original state. In Klal Yisrael also, they originally transcended their state and went back to Adam before the sin. Even though they got Kapara, they still remain people. They lost. That was a one-time chance to go back to Adam before the sin, and so that they lost. Even though they got Tshuva, and we got. Going forward, we have a Torah, we have Klal Yisrael, we have what to do. But going forward, but we don't have the state of being like angelic like they were before. In a hidden way, yes. Through Torah, through learning Torah, and keeping Torah properly and everything, so we become, in a hidden way, become angelic. Like the Gemara says a number of times about certain sages in the Gemara. Hanach la bar nash. These people are not people; they're not human. And Chazon Ish writes in a beautiful letter that real Talmidei Chachamim they seem like people, but they're really angels in people's skin. So you can have individuals like that, but Klal Yisrael as a whole, we're people. Like we have struggles like people. We're living in a world of people, so we have to keep that. We have to know that that's where we're at. So we got the Kapara, and we have a future. But we still have to deal with the Yetzer Hara. Like we didn't get to eradicate by doing the Tshuva and the Kippur. We didn't eradicate the Yetzer Hara again and go back to the state of before the Chet. So this is the history repeating itself, the two stages of history. That's what we're talking about here, that he says that the Erev Rav, they managed to intermingle the evil back into them again. That's why they call it Erev, the word Erev Rav, intermingling. Like the snake bit them and that brought the evil into them and it intermingled throughout the entire body, like the poison does. Also over here, they took the evil and they mixed it back in. That which we pushed out got mixed back in again. Sad story, but that's just to understand how that happened. This what I'm telling you is the Nefesh L'Chaim or Chaim Volozhiner makes this parallel between the two stories of Adam Rishon and the Chet Egel. But we do have the kapara through the Mishkan, and now we have the Kohanim. So it's going to be Lasid Lava. They said that in the future time after Mashiach, then the Avodah is going to go back to the Bahar, to the firstborn. It'll go back to once it's a complete tikkun of everything, then it'll go back to its original owners, back to the firstborn again. I think we're going to hold it here because the next pasuk is a whole other world.
Okay.
It would take a whole other hour to talk about the next pasuk.